Hello, in this video I'm going to be filling an expansion joint with a product called Crack-Stix, and the joint that I'm filling today is 1 inch wide, and the Crack-Stix size that I'm using is the 1/2 inch thick. There's more information about this product in the video description, and as always, feel free to add any questions or for anything that I may have left out in the comment section. Adding a topping over this is completely optional. I'm choosing to do it solely for cosmetic reasons because I don't like the sheen of the final cured product. It's shiny and it doesn't look very natural, so I'm choosing to add a topping just so it blends in with the natural environment better. The items needed for this project are the actual joint filler, a weed torch, and a steel wire bristle brush that I happen to get from Harbor Freight for just a couple dollars. Again, links to find these products will be in the description. The first step is to clean out the joint completely, regardless of what joint you're replacing and what kind of product was in there before, whether it was wood or caulk. It all has to come out, including any backing material. This is a previously caulked joint with a backer rod, so I have to remove the old caulk along with the backer rod. You want to clear away all the dirt and debris from around the concrete, because if anything blows in the product once it's being melted, it does stick to it and it doesn't look good, so you definitely don't want any type of dirt around. So you want to clean the joint and all the surrounding area as much as possible. The other thing that you need to keep in mind while doing this is that the joint is dry. Sometimes there'll be moisture accumulated down at the bottom of the joint, and the torch could be used to dry that out, but the joint does need to be dry before installing the product. For the edge of the concrete, I'm just using a brick to hold in the product while melting. You could use any straight edge as long as it can withstand the heat. A brick is not necessary, it just worked well for me. I'm also keeping in mind that this joint is on a sidewalk that is against the house, and I'm gonna want to make sure the grade of the joint actually directs water away from the house as well, so I'm gonna show how I do that right after this step. But once your joint is dry and full of your backfill, you can start installing your product. I've twisted mine together so it fits very snug. It is a little hard to squeeze in the joint if it's a cool day. It was about 75 degrees when we did this, and it was a little firm. We had to use some force to get it in places, but you can use the back of the brush. It comes in handy of pushing in, and if you put the product in the sun, it does become a little softer to where it's more pliable and can bend easy and smush easy. So just keep that in mind when you're working with it if you happen to run into the issues getting it in the joints. You want to make sure the entire joint does not have any product that's above the level of concrete, because what will happen is when it's melting, it'll actually flow out onto the top of the concrete. So the really most important thing you need to keep in mind if you're gonna use this product is to make sure before you start melting that none of it is above the surface of the concrete. This product works best when it's melted in small sections at a time, and the first pass that I do is about 12 to 16 inches at a time, and I do one stage where I just start to see the plastic covering melt off, and I do that down the whole joint, and then I will come back and then I do a second pass in sections the same size until it's kind of half leveled out, I would say, or halfway melted. When the product's melted about halfway is when I make my sections a little bit smaller, because I just like the results better. But as with this and anything else, it's a good idea to practice a little bit to see what gives you the best look that you're going for. For me in particular, I am more happy with the results when I shortened the areas that I heated at a time once it was halfway melted, just because I had more control over the flow, and if I needed to add more product, I could stop and add more in. So by applying the final heat in smaller sections, I was just more happy with the end result. This next step is completely optional. However, I have read that in high temperatures, the product can become tacky. So if it happens to be above the surface of the concrete at all, it could be dented where people walk, where traffic is, or possibly furniture. So one way to prevent that is to provide a top coating of sorts, such as sand or pea gravel, or in this case, I'm applying both. So here I'm just applying a topping because I don't like the final cure sheen. It actually cures to a glossy finish that I don't feel really fits in with nature too well. So I just want a more natural look. So I'm using pea gravel and sand to top this off to help it blend with where it's going. But just keep in mind, this is an optional step. It is not required at all. So here there's an area where it didn't quite level out to the height as the rest of the joint. This is also a great example of why I like to work in smaller sections when I'm doing the final heating, because if I need to stop and make an adjustment or add more product to make it come out right, it's very easy to do. This also shows how easy the product can be cut into different sizes. But another good thing I love about this product is that it's very forgiving. Is if you do happen to run into an issue where it happened to cure, or you had to stop halfway and leave and come back and you didn't get to finish one of the steps, this product can be reheated and you can pick up where you left off pretty much. When it comes to the topping application, I found it's best to pass the heat one time over each topping just to give it a chance to stick to the product a little better, because it did seem to cure before I could get all the topping on. So by passing the heat, I give the product a chance to stick again. You can see on the end where there's a little gap where the product didn't quite fill all the way to the end. So it's easy just to cut little sections as needed to fill any spaces like this. So this is where I want to talk about the actual grading of the joint, how I directed water flow, just because this particular joint, it did matter which direction the water flows. So I wanted to make sure I directed the water flow away from the house. There's a couple tricks that can be done if you do want to direct that flow. So the idea here is in the last, I would say 6 to 10 inches or so, is to slightly have the level drop off towards the direction you want the water to flow. And you can see here where I let the level get shallower as it approached the end of the joint. And then the other thing is to make sure the inner part of the joint has a slight curve to it. And you could use anything round for this, such as rebar. That's what I'm going to use. Or you could even use a piece of PVC. As long as you have a topping on the product, this will work. I don't recommend doing this if you do not have a topping. The topping provides a barrier so things can't stick to it if it's still warm. And it is best to do this when it's still slightly warm, so you can actually mold it to the shape you want, because that's what's going on here. So here I'm just using a rebar to gently roll and press to get that concave effect down the center of the joint to make sure water can always travel out of the joint. There are joints that it doesn't matter which way the water flows, such as on my driveway. However, for this particular joint, it did matter. So once enough time has passed that you're sure the product is set, you go back and remove any edging or bricks or rocks that you had in place to form up the ends. And here I'm just showing the end of mine and how it melted into place. And you can see at the bottom, if you look closely, at the bottom, if you look closely, you could see the reflection of the product, and that's how shiny it would dry if I did not have the topping on it. I believe the cure time is affected by how hot or cold the temperature is in the air and the concrete. So just make sure your product's cured before you remove any forms. It doesn't hurt to wait 30 minutes no matter what. The instructions say a 20-minute cure time, and then it's good for traffic. And I just give it a quick wash down with the hose to wash away any loose pebbles or grains of sand that didn't get stuck in place. And this is the end result, and I'm very happy with it. I have a lot more joints to do. One of the next projects is actually the driveway, but we haven't decided what topping we're going to use for that one yet. If you have any questions or comments about the video, please leave it in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.